Welcome into PFF TV. Austin Gayle here with Mike Renner, the hosts of PFF's 2-for-1 Drafts podcast. Make sure to check that out on Spotify, Stitcher, and Apple Podcasts. But today, we're diving into the big board. The latest PFF big board dropped on PFF.com on Monday. Let's break this down 10 by 10 all the way through the top 100 players, starting with number 1, Joe Burrow of LSU. This guy's a lock to go number 1 overall at Cincinnati Bengals.
Has to be. There's the whispers of Justin Herbert improving stock at the Senior Bowl, whatever. I don't buy it whatsoever that he's in play for the number 1 overall pick. It's Joe Burrow, because I just don't see him busting. Maybe he doesn't have this absurd ceiling. Maybe he doesn't have the cannon for an arm. But with his level of accuracy, he's going to be a top 10 to 15 quarterback in the NFL. You can vault me on that one. I just believe that disregard all the other things, when you can put the ball where you want to, the way he did this year on a level of which we've never seen in our 6 years of charting quarterbacks at the college level, I just think he is going to be good in the NFL. Maybe not a generational guy, maybe he's not whatever, but I think you're getting a franchise type of quarterback as at number 1, and that's the goal. That's what you want as a number 1 overall pick for the Cincinnati Bengals.
That accuracy we've seen translates to the next level, and I think that's another reason to be confident in Joe Burrow.
It's the
biggest trait for the quarterback position. Next guy I want to bring up is at number 2, the best non-quarterback in this draft, Chase Young. I mean, he also feels Joe Burrow to Cincinnati at 1, but Chase Young to Washington at 2 also feels like something we could write in Sharpie.
Yeah, and the thing is, quarterback's a more difficult position to evaluate than edge rusher. Mm-hmm. If you dominate college offensive tackles and good college offensive tackles the way Chase Young has consistently throughout his career, it tends to work in the NFL. We called the Bosa brothers at Ohio State before him pretty much locks to produce in the NFL. Chase Young has produced at a level in college that they never did. Mm-hmm. An elite grading profile that we've never seen. Highest pass rushing grade by far in our 6 years of grading college football prospects. And he doesn't just tick the production box. He also has freakish size, freakish athleticism, freakish length, and uses his hands extremely well. Like, there's not a thing about him on his tape. You're trying to write cons for him.
Yeah,
it's difficult. It's difficult to find things that are bad about his game.
Yeah.
You know, he is going to be, to me, the best edge prospect we've seen since we started doing this.
Skipping through a little bit, you got number 3, Tua Tagovailoa, Alabama cornerback. 4, Jeffrey Okudah, cornerback of Ohio State. The next 2 I want to talk about, though, CeeDee Lamb, right at number 5, right ahead of Alabama wide receiver Jerry Jeudy. Talk about these 2 prospects and why Lamb just gets that jump over Jeudy.
God damn it, I keep going back. I keep going back and forth on it. I see a rep from Jeudy, I'm like, he's receiver 1. And I see a rep from Lamb, I'm like, oh,
that's a good problem to have, though. That's a good problem to have.
And it's one of those things where it's a good problem to have, and also, I don't think you can go wrong. Mm-hmm. Like, you're going to get a darn good wide receiver, whichever one of these guys you pick, but Lamb at the wide receiver 1 on our board, we'll call it 1A at this point because of what he does from an outside perspective. His releases against press coverage as an outside receiver, being able to win down the football field on the edge, he's just shown more of it than Jeudy. Not saying Jeudy can't, he's just shown more of it, takes a little more from a size perspective at this point. Both off the charts in terms of body control, route running ability. Jeudy probably got a little more speed. Lamb probably a little more physical, but like, pick your poison.
Man, they're both good.
Exactly. Like, you take one of these guys and you don't even think about it, you got a number 1 wide receiver.
Right at number 7, I can't pass this guy up because he's just such a special defensive player that can play like any position on the football field. Best projects as an off-ball linebacker that would be really good in coverage at the next level. You have him at number 7, Isaiah Simmons of Clemson. A special dude, rare athlete, rare size. I mean, you can't say enough good things about him.
I gotta say, the term freak gets overused, I think, in the draft community in terms of when you're projecting these guys, but he is a certified freak in terms of what he can do athletically on the football field at 6'3", 230 pounds, usually 6'4", 230 pounds, and then probably going to run around maybe in the 4.4 range. And that is rare to see a dude that tall, that explosive, and I think he can play any position you want him to play over the middle of the football field and be a plus sort of coverage presence in that role. And another guy where I'm not sure you can really go wrong with him. If you want to just draft him and play him as a traditional linebacker, he can do that too.
Yeah.
His wingspan is absurd. A lot of things to like about Simmons at linebacker position.
Where I'd love to see him is Don Martindale's defense, how he uses defense backs, how he rotates players down the line of scrimmage.
Going to go on a limb and say it's not going to make it to the Ravens.
He's not going to be there, but I think about these defense, these creative defensive coordinators that are in the NFL. They get the best out of Isaiah Simmons. I'd love to see him go somewhere like that. I'm not going to skip over your OT1. Offensive tackle number 1, Andrew Thomas, a super smooth, athletic offensive tackle prospect. Some people have Jedrick Wills at number 1. Some people have Mekhi Becton at number 1 of Louisville. But you have Andrew Thomas. Talk to me about him.
So Thomas, the big differentiator between these guys, in our eyes, all are ridiculously athletic, all are ridiculously powerful. Thomas, we've seen it. It's the production aspect. We've seen it for 3 straight years. fantastic pass pro grades, the highest graded Power 5 tackle in the draft so far this season. So from a grading perspective, from a sort of profile over the course of his career perspective, has gotten better every single year, graded extremely well every single year. At that point, you just feel more comfortable. Some of these guys might have more upside. Some of these guys might have more athletic traits that project to the tackle position. But we've seen
better highlight reels.
Yeah,
Mekhi Becton's highlight reel, he gets you excited. Yeah. He's throwing people on the ground.
But we've seen him do it now for multiple seasons in the best conference in America. That has value.
All right, number 9, not too far behind Andrew Thomas is Jedrick Wills, the tackle for Alabama. At 10, Christian Fulton, cornerback 2 behind Jeffrey Okudah. But I want to bring up the next 10. Let's bring out the next 10, throw it on the board here. But number 11, Derek Brown of Auburn, a game wrecker, one of the better interior defensive linemen in this class. Really do like what Derek Brown brings to the table.
Yeah, and Derek Brown just seems very safe in terms of he is just absurdly powerful. Like he manhandles opposing offensive linemen routinely. You're just not going to get the better of him from a physical perspective. And so I think that that's easily translatable to the next level. We haven't quite seen the play-to-play dominance that you would expect from a guy with his physical tools. He's still almost just scratching the surface in that regard. But I just think you feel very confident that what he is at this point will be a good football player at the next level.
Can't skip over Javon Kinlaw at number 12. He had a very good Senior Bowl, impressed many in the interview process, also dominated in the one-on-ones. He moved up a little bit on your board, I think your latest board here, but Javon Kinlaw at number 12. I think you said it best. If you built a defensive tackle in a lab, he looks like Javon Kinlaw, and he plays like him too.
Yeah, the size, length, athleticism, power, whatever, you name it. Kinlaw has it. Plays a little high at times, only has a couple pass rushing moves, but still graded out extremely well as a pass rusher the last 2 years. That's almost like a positive in his favor that he doesn't have a lot of pass rushing moves, but yet produced well on the football field. If you're looking for a guy, if you're talking about the respective ceilings between Derek Brown and Javon Kinlaw, I'd say Kinlaw can get to a higher sort of. He just has more.
He's taller.
He has more physical tools. Yeah, he can get higher, basically. But he has more physical tools than a guy like Derek Brown. Brown just a little more of a polished product. So both these guys, I mean, these top 12 of this draft is pretty superb. Like this is you want to be high in this draft. It gets a little shakier after probably that top 15 or so. But this is a draft where the top, you feel pretty good about all these guys.
Number 13, the Iowa offensive tackle, could play guard at the next level, Tristan Wirfs. At 14, you have the, again, staying in Iowa, edge defender AJ Epinesa. I got us to go to 15, though. Laviska Shenault. He's a guy that battled injuries a little bit this year. His role changed because of that. They used him almost exclusively at outside receiver. But this guy can play a lot of different positions at the next level. Translates as this chess piece. This guy that plays in the backfield, slot. You get him the football any creative way you can. You have him as a first rounder here, number 15 overall. Give me Laviska.
And so this is kind of where we start to see guys with some actual question marks. And Laviska's question mark is he's not a polished route runner by any means. And in terms of winning down the football field, he just didn't have a lot. It wasn't targeted a lot in that Colorado offense. Doesn't have a lot of production down the football field. But he's sort of that alpha athlete that he is too special athletically to fail in terms of he's probably going to might run the 4.3s at 225 pounds. He's been incredibly productive after the catch. To me, my comp for him is basically Saquon Barkley, but at wide receiver. That's the level of explosiveness, and that's the level of what he does after the catch. He just has not. He's just not, coached up on the finer points of playing the wide receiver position just yet. I think he can get there. He's a guy you just take a chance on and figure out a way to get him the ball. I'm
still not convinced the Giants shouldn't play Saquon Barkley at receiver. I feel like they might get more value out of him there. Let's go to 16. Josh Jones had an incredible Senior Bowl week. He moved from 18 to 16 on the big board. I mean, he looked so good in the one-on-ones, dominated as a run blocker well, put Zach Bond in just a blender down the football field at the second level. I think Josh Jones, you need to watch this kid if you haven't.
Yeah, and he's a little different from the rest of this tackle class. All the guys we've mentioned up to this point are true juniors coming out. He's a redshirt senior, already has some miles on him, but you almost like that in terms of he has 4 years of pass protection under his belt. In the pass-heavy offense there at Houston, he has the reps. He uses his hands better than any of the other guys at the tackle position in this class. Doesn't have the sort of raw, rare physical tools, but he's a pretty darn physical guy in and of himself, has NFL sort of caliber length, size, strength, ticks all those boxes. So yes, he doesn't wow maybe like the other guys, but his hands in pass pro are absurdly good, and we saw it at the Senior Bowl one-on-ones. Easily the best offensive tackle there.
I don't want to skip over Curtis Weaver because we talked to some NFL guys down at the Senior Bowl, and they have Curtis Weaver a lot lower than we have him right now. I need to know, and I think I know your answer. It's the production. Curtis Weaver in the Mountain West has produced at such a high level, it's hard to ignore.
Yes, 2 back-to-back seasons this year, the past 2 years, with pass rushing grades of 92.0 or higher. We've never seen that. That is the first guy to do that in our 6 years of grading these guys. Neither of the Bosa's did it. Chase Young didn't have 2 years of that. He has just been absurdly productive over a 2-year sample size. And I don't really care who you're beating up on at that point. I feel good about because every tackle that he faced, whether it was guys at Florida State this past year, whether it was Mountain West tackles, it just did not matter. He was going to win if left one-on-one. And so that's sort of, even if you're not the Chase Young athletically, even if you're not AJ Epinesa athletically or Julian OKWARA athletically, if you have that level of production, if you're that good with your hands and you're that powerful of an edge rusher, I think it's going to translate, maybe not right out the gate, but I think he's going to figure it out at some point because of how dominant he was.
All right, let's move through this next set of 10 here. 18, Grant Delpit of LSU. 19, you have Trayvon Diggs, cornerback for Alabama. And again, another Alabama kid at 20, Henry Ruggs, a speedster, a flyer. I think he's a difference maker at the next level. But I got to get to 21. This next set of 10 here, Jordan Elliott. Defensive interior of Missouri, one of my favorites in this class, a great interior pass rusher, has some plays on tape, and you fall in love with this guy.
Yeah, Jordan Elliott was the highest grade defensive tackle in all of college football last year. Playing at Missouri, not Derek Brown, not Javon Kinlaw, it was Jordan Elliott. And even if you just limit it to those 3 guys all play in the SEC, even if you limit it to just SEC play, Jordan Elliott, highest graded defense tackle in SEC play. He was just absurdly productive, whether it was versus the run, whether it was as a pass rusher. He dominated. So it's very similar to a Curtis Weaver evaluation. Yeah, he might not have the physical tools of Javon Kinlaw or Derek Brown, but he has the production. He has bullied college offensive linemen. At that point, when you're at that level, we feel good about you translating to the NFL.
At number 22, you have the uber athletic edge defender, Julian OKWARA of Notre Dame. I got to get to 23. Clemson wide receiver, T. Higgins, a bigger receiver prospect, not the most dynamic athlete from a quickness standpoint, not like on Jerry Jeudy levels of separation, but this guy still wins at the collegiate level. You have him high in this class.
Yeah, T. Higgins, I just think he offers something a little different from the rest of this class at receiver. He is big. He is 6'4", 215, ridiculously big catch radius, can go up and pluck it out of the air over smaller cornerbacks, and he can stack you. He can separate down the football field as well. He is not limited in that regard like a lot of big receivers. He can get off the line of scrimmage. We saw him do it against Christian Fulton in the national championship game, and I think we've seen him do it for a couple years now at Clemson. So I feel very good. This receiver class is one that you need one. I keep saying it's deep. You can get a good one in the second round, but if you want a true number one, go get them in the first round because there's a handful, and I think they'll be off the board. I think we see teams learn from the mistakes of passing on the A.J. Browns, the DK Metcalfs of the world that they did in 2018.
I would agree with that 100%. Number 24, cornerback, C.J. Henderson of Florida. Quieter guy that's had good production. He's also battled injuries a little bit, but C.J. Henderson has some good match and mirror skills. 25, Ashton Davis. The Cal safety didn't participate in the Senior Bowl. I think got flagged in the physical process, but a great kid, guy we talked to. Really easy to fall in love with that guy in the interview process. Cornerback, Jalen Johnson at 26, the Utah guy. And then let's go to 27, Justin Herbert. Other people have him higher. A lot of people see this guy as a top 10 lock. You have him at 27 overall on your board.
Yeah, it's just he has the arm talent. He has the arm talent of a quarterback to play in the NFL. You need much more than arm talent to win at quarterback in the NFL. A lot of guys have strong arms and are sitting on benches or sitting at home on couches.
Whoa.
He missed his calling as a baseball pitcher in my eyes because I think he could have. He probably could throw 97 and probably can put it pretty accurately where he wants to. But the decision making, the processing of defenses, the knowing where to go with the football is something he's always struggled with throughout his career at Oregon. Struggled with mightily when it came against better defenses, even in those games at the end of the year against Utah. His signature wins against Utah in the conference championship game, against Wisconsin in the bowl game. He had passing grades of 65 or lower in both those games. It was not because of his arm that they were winning those games. It was their defense, the running game, that sort of thing. So Justin Herbert, those big question marks are why we're still lower on him on our board. But if you draft him top 10, I'm not going to be like that's a terrible pick. He is a chance. He's a lottery ticket at the quarterback position with a big arm. I'm not going to hate on it that much.
And you have to take chances at the quarterback position. And
exactly.
Where you draft quarterbacks now is just so much higher in the draft. You got to trade up for those guys, so I would agree with you there. Skipping a little bit here, Jalen Reagor, the TCU speedster, didn't have great production in 2019, but loved what he did in 2018. I think he has a great skill set. 29, Cameron Dantzler, cornerback of Mississippi State. And then 30, Netani Muti of Fresno State. No one really knows about this guy. He's kind of on your radar alone, largely because of injuries. But when this guy is healthy, dude is a bruiser.
Yeah, and that's the thing. He's 2 straight seasons. Achilles injury in 2018, a shoulder injury this past year. Medical red flags are going to be serious. He probably won't go. I feel pretty confident that he's not going to go in the top 30. He's probably might sneak into day 2 with all those off-field red flags. But the dude is an absolute brick. He does not, no one goes through him. You go, he goes through you. He is a line of scrimmage mover, and his, like I said, a lot of offensive linemen don't have highlight reels. His highlight reel looks like Quentin Nelson, the way he's just throwing guys around. That's back from his freshman year over at Fresno State. So he declared early. Like I said, the medical will be an issue, but purely on the field, this is the best offensive guard in this class.
Let's bring up the next set of 10 here, 31 through 40. Brandon Ayuk starting at 31, Arizona State wide receiver, super explosive, great after the catch. Wish we could have saw him at the Senior Bowl, but he got flagged in the physical process. And then also 32, safety Xavier McKinney of Alabama. 33, cornerback Jeff Gladney of TCU. 34, Bryce Hall, the Virginia cornerback. But I had to jump to 35. Jonah Jackson, talk about a week at the Senior Bowl. This guy's a very impressive build, impressive balance, and great production all throughout his college career and the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, had a great pass blocking grade back at Rutgers, 2018, transfers to Ohio State, and then puts up another great pass blocking grade this year. And the thing I love about him is when he loses, he's still fighting. He's not losing cleanly. He's not getting swam, and then all of a sudden he's like, where'd that guy go? He's holding on for dear life. He's not letting a guy get a free run on his quarterback. Jonah Jackson has the best recoverability of any guard in this class, has the best hands and pass protection of any guard in this class. And yes, he's not the line of scrimmage mover that Netani Muti is, but he will be the top pass protector in this class. I think that has a ton of value. That's why we're so high on him. Doesn't look the part of some of the other guards in this class, but I have no doubt in my mind that this dude will be a plus pass protector at the next level.
36, Hunter Bryant, the tight end of Washington. 37, Denzel Mims. Let's stop on this guy. Super explosive, physical, advanced route running ability. I think he had a really good week at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, he definitely did. He was the most explosive wide receiver in attendance there, and it was his ability to run routes outside of the vertical tree he ran at Baylor. He was a go, come back, that sort of guy. Screen at Baylor, that was the offense that he was in. Not a lot of nuanced route running, but I think he goes to the Senior Bowl, a little more different tree that he has asked to run and shows some nuance. I was a fan of his game. 38, cornerback of Clemson, A.J. Terrell. 39, Michael Pittman, who I thought had a good week in the Senior Bowl, not a great one. We didn't see a ton of what we wanted to see from a separation standpoint. And number 40, he dropped from 31 to 40 in the latest update, Juwan Jennings of Tennessee. Where are you at with him now? You see him as this day 2 player that fits in the slot. Yeah, I think he just is very good after the catch and a very physical wide receiver. I think he can play on the outside as well, but he's not going to be your traditional downfield separator. He's going to have to win more at the catch point. I love his ability to get off the line of scrimmage. A little on the old end as a redshirt senior, but I think his true calling card will be that after the catch ability. Get the ball to him underneath, and he'll turn an 8-yard gain into a 20-yard gain pretty routinely.
He's so good after the catch. That's the thing. He forces missed tackles, doesn't go down easily. And I think that's where he really wins at the next level. Going to this next set of 10, starting with 41, Marlon Davidson only played in one practice at the Senior Bowl, but really stood out. He stands at 41.
Yeah, the Auburn defensive end there at Auburn when he played. Flipped to defensive tackle at the Senior Bowl, kicked inside, put on the weight, 297 he weighed in at there. That was a huge box for him to tick because we called him a tweener heading in. Shows up, looks every bit of 3 technique, every bit the same explosiveness we saw on the edge, and that's going to play far better on the interior for him. Was a guy who just struggled to get to the edge against college offensive tackles because when you're 280, you just don't have the burst, and so I think we saw him much better against offensive guard, so he moves up our board because of that.
Moving to Zach Bond, the Wisconsin off-ball linebacker now. I guess he wanted to be an off-ball linebacker in the Senior Bowl. He's at number 42. I thought he played better at edge defender, still learning a position at off-ball, but he comes in at 42.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's always a tough projection when a guy's going to play a vastly different position. But I think the traits are there and the sort of production off the edge in terms of beating college offensive tackles as dominantly as he did. A pass rushing grade over 90 this past season, even in the Senior Bowl one-on-ones when he was rushing against tackles, won three-quarters of his reps there at the Senior Bowl. So I think that ability to take on blocks and then just the smoothness athletically that we saw on tape, I feel good about him projecting to the off-ball. I think he has everything necessary to do so.
Number 43, Tennessee edge defender Darrell Taylor. 44, I want to stop here, Tyler Johnson. Kind of an interesting prospect. Some people see this guy as a day 3 guy. He did not get an invite to the Senior Bowl. We talked to Jim Nagy a bit. He said he was not a good enough receiver to go to the Senior Bowl. The other guys there were better. We're a little bit higher on him. I think he finished as the highest graded receiver in college football for us this past year. We still believe in his ability to separate as a route runner. Drops a concern, but I think he overcomes those at the next level.
Yeah, he was top 10 in terms of yards per route 2018, top 10 2019 in terms of yards per route. The production is off the charts. The route running is fantastic, nuanced, has some shake in his hips. The ability to get off the line of scrimmage and then set guys up down the football field, I think, is there. He's not going to wow with his speed. He's not going to wow with his size, but I think that's a tried and true method to success, is that level of route running. What we've seen already, I think it's just going to translate to the next level. He might not be, necessarily, he might not be DeAndre Hopkins, he might not be Tyreek Hill, he might not be your true number 1, but he is going to be able to win at the NFL level as a route runner.
45 and 46, a couple of Utah guys. Utah's Terrell Burgess, guy who played slot corner, safety a little bit. 46, Bradley Anai, the edge defender. 47, you have Penn State's Etor Gross-Matos. 48, I want to stop here, Kayvon Chason, a guy that a lot of people get excited about because he has these tools, these traits, this athletic profile that people want to jump on coming out of LSU. But the production, inconsistent, and the big reason why he comes in at 48.
Yeah, that's the thing. So we need to see it first. You can have all the traits in the world if you can't beat college offensive tackles consistently. Why? If you're that athletic, why is it not happening already? And what makes you think that once you get to the NFL, it's going to happen against better tackles? So we've seen the reps. We've seen reps against Andrew Thomas. We've seen reps against some better tackles in the SEC where it's like, wow, that looks great. We've seen reps against Samuel Cosmi out of Texas where it looks fantastic, but the consistency play to play has not been there. So we're just going to be a little more hesitant to get on board with a guy like that.
49, you have Tyler Biadasz of Wisconsin. 50, right before we get to the 51 and go through the 100, I want to talk about Jake Fromm. There are teams like the Minnesota Vikings. I talked to some radio personalities there that like Jake Fromm as this option with Kirk Cousins entering his last year. Is Jake Fromm a guy you want to buy into on day 2 or and maybe potentially start in the NFL?
I think so, and I think even if you're at the back end of the first round, I'm not going to hate on you drafting a guy like Jake Fromm, because what he does from a quick decision-making perspective is that translates to the NFL. In terms of being able to get the ball in your hands quickly is a great trait to have. Being able to protect the football, he only had something like 6 turnover-worthy plays all last season, is a great trait to have. And he did it in the SEC, against the best defenses in the country. He was able to protect the football and get the ball out of his hands quickly. Now, can he win down the football field? Can he make special throws? Remains to be seen.
Yeah.
I think there's a big, and some of the games he had this year where he just couldn't complete a pass with the accuracy was rough. But there's something to work with there from a decision-making perspective, and we've seen him get better grading-wise every single year of his career. So only a true junior. I think there's enough there to say, hey, you're a New England Patriots back end of the first round. You need a guy to develop. He could be your guy.
Let's throw up the next set of 10 here. Number 51, Calvin Throckmorton, the Oregon product, the offensive lineman, played a little guard, tackle at the Senior Bowl. 52, Zach Moss, Utah running back. 53, Bryson Hopkins, tight end out of Purdue. 54, didn't get a chance to see him at the Senior Bowl, but Oregon off-ball linebacker Troy Dye. 55, I want to stop here, Ross Blacklock of TCU, the defensive interior. Some people have this guy going in the first round. Yeah. Blacklock, I think a guy that's rising late in the process.
He graded out really well as a freshman, then got hurt as a sophomore, comes back as a junior this past season. And he's good, but that TCU defensive line, graded out well, but that TCU defensive line is not schematically not great in terms of helping you out from a grading perspective. They're stunting, they're slanting every single snap. They're not really putting you in a perspective where they're saying, hey, go win one-on-one. So it's difficult to see him from that. It's difficult to see that on tape, but you see this raw athleticism. You see a guy who moves differently from the majority of defensive tackles in this draft class, and he's still graded out fairly well, even in a non-favorable role. So that's why he comes in, in the mid-50s here. 56,
Akeem Davis-Gaither of App State, an off-ball linebacker, weighed in 6'1", 219 pounds. This guy's got some athleticism, very impressive.
He can stay at linebacker, though.
Yeah, he can stay at linebacker, too. 57, DeAndre Swift, running back out of Georgia, and I really like this next trio. If you want some talent at the back end, or top of day 2-ish, 58, Josh Uche, Michigan edge defender, off-ball type, and then you have 59, Terrell Lewis of Alabama, and 60, Neville Gallimore, the defensive interior of Oklahoma. That's a nice little trio there down the stretch. Let's go to 61 through 70 up on the board. We're going to go edge defender, Khalid Kareem of Notre Dame. Stop. Number 62, Texas A&M defensive interior, Justin Matabuke. Really like what he's done on tape. Pass rushing ability is very nice.
Yeah, he has shown that he has a pretty full pass rushing skill set in terms of the athleticism, a few different moves. Consistency still remains to be seen. I don't love him against the run. I think he got taken out by some double teams at times there at Texas A&M. But back-to-back years now of pretty solid grading, and only, again, a guy who came out early there at Texas A&M. I think his best football is ahead of him.
All right, moving forward, 63, Damian Lewis, an absolute monster at guard. Had a really good Senior Bowl week. Really liked that number at 63. Then you have the Auburn cornerback, Noah Igbinoyin. I can't get into that. I'm not going to try that one, but he has played well this past season. Yeah, 65, Jordan Love, Utah State quarterback. Didn't have a great Senior Bowl week. A little sporadic from an accuracy standpoint. If you don't mind, I want to stop at 66. Yeah. Darnay Holmes really fell in love with this kid in the interview process at the Senior Bowl. He also was very competitive. He's a smaller guy, probably destined for the slot cornerback role at the next level, but he's a legit athlete, legit competitor. I think he makes a presence in the NFL.
Yeah, and I think he might be limited to the slot at his size, but I think in that sort of role, I think he can still make plays. I love his playmaking ability. He had picks, guarding N'Keal Harry last year, Marquise Brown last year. You've seen it on tape. Just the movement skills that you can't really coach. A lot of inconsistency on his tape. A lot of times he's guessing when he's not really being a playmaker. He's more trying to make too many plays at times. But I do think with a little more coaching, a little more seasoning, he's only a true junior coming out. I think he could get a good one.
I can't skip over the mountain of a man that is Mekhi Becton. This guy went number 4 overall in Daniel Jeremiah's latest mock draft. You have him at number 67. The production's concerning. Like when you filter it down to true pass sets, this guy did not perform at a high level. Yes, he has these highlight reel level blocks where he's throwing people to the sideline, but from a consistency standpoint, from an overall production standpoint, there are concerns in his game as a pass protector.
Yeah, again, it's the pass protection that's far and away the biggest thing for us. If you can't pass protect, you haven't pass protected at a high level, it's almost a non-starter for us in terms of first round. We're not going to be taking you there. His true pass sets only took 73 this past season, extremely low number for a tackle. That Louisville offense was a lot of play action, very run heavy with the running threat at quarterback there for them. And on those, he gave up 8 pressures. That's an extremely high rate to give up 8 pressures on only 73 pass blocking snaps when it was actually had to go one-on-one with guys. That's just worrisome. The fact that we've seen him get beaten a handful of times already on his tape. And mountain of a man, moves extremely well for that size. Pretty rare physical tools. But Greg Robinson had pretty rare physical tools too, and we saw that with that. It's not necessarily you want to see a guy pass protect before you're going to get on board with him 4th overall.
All right, number 68, Justin Jefferson, the LSU wide receiver. 69, Kevon Wallace of Clemson. And 70, Kenneth Murray, Oklahoma off-ball linebacker. Let's bring up this next set of 10 here. Nick Harris did not have a good Senior Bowl week, the center from Washington. He drops quite a bit down to 71 on PFF's latest big board. Then you have the running back of Wisconsin, Jonathan Taylor, coming in at 72. Now, 73, Troy Pride Jr. You want to talk about a guy who had a great Senior Bowl. It was this kid, a former track star, wants to run in the 4.2s, probably ends up in the low 4.3s, but can stick with any receiver in the class, but also got a lot better this week at the catch point and at the line of scrimmage.
And the thing is, when you hear people say that speed matters at the cornerback position, Troy Pride is a great sort of indicator of why that is. Watching his game, you can tell why speed matters so much is because you can give yourself some leeway. You don't have to be pedaling out and giving yourself a ton of cushion down the football field and allowing stuff underneath. He can patiently wait and know that, hey, if I give up a step down the football field, I will make up that step, or at least I'm not going to lose another one down the football field. It's going to take a perfect throw to beat me because I'll be right on the guy's back hip at that point. So Troy Pride, 4.2 to 4.3 type of speed, and then I think he showed much more sort of the biggest worry with him has been his ability to play both the ball and the quarterback. Those sort of ball skills you talked about at the cornerback position, he hasn't really shown them much, but he did better at the Senior Bowl week.
74, Alex Highsmith, the edge defender out of Charlotte. 75, Willie Gay Jr. of Mississippi State. 76, running back J.K. Dobbins of Ohio State. Logan Stenberg, dubbed Mr. Nasty at Kentucky, a guy who likes to talk a lot of trash. He dropped a little bit after what was a little bit of a rough Senior Bowl for him. He goes to number 77. Then you have Lucas Niang of TCU coming in. Antoine Winfield Jr., Minnesota, at 79. Now, number 80, KJ Hill, Ohio State. This guy rose up boards quite a bit with his performance at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, and the biggest thing was we saw him play fully slot at Ohio State. Didn't get pressed, didn't have to deal with any of that sort of thing, ran just an underneath route tree. And I still don't think he's going to be a guy who separates at a high level down the football field. But my comp for him has been Cooper Kupp, the guy who came out of Eastern Washington, just such an advanced route runner. So deals with physicality from opposing cornerbacks with just such ease. The ability to keep his body clean, the sort of wide receiver things that you can't teach, they do at high levels. KJ Hill, that's who he's going to be. I think he's going to be a successful pro. Maybe not necessarily your number one wide receiver, but if he's a complementary piece in an offense, he will be able to beat man coverage underneath consistently.
All right, 81, Jack Driscoll of Auburn, the offensive tackle. 82, Penn State wide receiver, or slot receiver, really, KJ Hamler. 83, Matt Pert, the UConn offensive tackle. Man, Bill Belichick was watching this guy like a hawk. A lot of people liked him at the Senior Bowl. Let's stop at 84, Patrick Queen, off-ball linebacker of LSU. Guy that people have going in the first round. Daniel Jeremiah, I keep bringing him up, but he's got some great takes on Queen. Has him up, I think, at number 16 on his latest big board. Why are you a little bit lower compared to some others here?
Well, I mean, I think it's just the fact that he didn't grade out extremely well. It is very undersized for a linebacker still. And you see him flash playmaking, but also then get beaten down the football field. It's just kind of the up and down nature of his game so far at this point. You're banking on the down, being able to be eliminated in those high-end plays. You saw the high-end plays in the national championship game. The dude seemed like he was everywhere, making the key plays for that LSU defense. He has that in him. We just saw some low, and so we're a little bit more hesitant to get up on, get high on him like that.
Number 85, Francis Bernard, the off-ball linebacker of Utah. Let's stop at 86. Adam Troutman, the tight end of Dayton. Didn't watch a ton of him going in, but this guy had a really, really good week at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, and I mean, even if you did watch a ton of him at Dayton, it's going to be a lot different than the competition you're going to face at the Senior Bowl. But he showed route running ability, he showed physicality, he showed some speed on his tape, he showed sort of a complete modern tight end skill set that you want. Still not athletically in the realm of guys like Noah Fant, Bryson Hopkins, who we saw earlier on this list. He is not that athletically, but he is solid at that position, has good ball skills. So it's always difficult to at a receiving position to see a guy who hasn't necessarily gotten a ton of reps as a receiver. You're not just seeing him work against a ton of quality linebacker safeties out there at Dayton. So that's always tough from an evaluation perspective, but I think he could be a very good chance of being a solid tight end at the next level.
Number 87, Lloyd Cushenberry, the center from LSU. 88, Ezra Cleveland of Boise State, offensive lineman. 89, Julian Blackman of Utah, defensive back. And then 90, Trey Adams. Let's jump to our next set of 10 here, our last set of 10 on PFF's latest top 100 big board. 91, RAEKWON Davis, the defensive interior. 92, speedy wideout out of Boise State, John Hightower. 93, big mountain of a dude, Utah's run defending Leki Fotu. Could push the pocket at the next level. Center, Cesar Ruiz at 94. Devon Hamilton, number 95, rose up a bit at the Senior Bowl. Give me your take on him.
Yeah, he's a big nose tackle, and you didn't play a ton of snaps at Ohio State. When you're a big nose tackle, you want to see a guy be able to stay on the football field.
Yeah.
So
what was it, 350, 360 snaps around there?
Yeah, something in the 300s. He still needs to prove that he can do that, but I do think from a pass rushing perspective, he has the flexibility, he has the sort of technique to be able to consistently bull rush offensive linemen, offensive guards, centers into the pocket, and that's a very valuable thing. And I think the other very valuable part is that he holds up against double teams really well. You don't see a lot of college nose tackles or college defense tackles in general hold up to double teams. So I do think he ticks both of those boxes. Not special by any means in terms of comparing him to someone like Chase Young, but I think just a very solid guy. If you're getting him in the mid rounds, you'll be happy.
A couple tight ends at 96 and 97, Cole Kmet of Notre Dame and Cheyenne O'Grady of formerly Arkansas. A little off field with him, but special player when healthy and when actually in uniform. 98, Trevis Gibson, the edge defender from Tulsa. 99, Florida wide receiver Van Jefferson. Talk to me about those two players. Trevis Gibson, I thought had a good week at the Senior Bowl. He looks the part. You watch his tape, he has some impressive pass rush wins, and Van Jefferson broke the top 100 for us here at PFF after a very good Senior Bowl.
Yeah, Trevis Gibson, he played kind of out of position. They played 3-down lineman, and he was one of those guys lining up over the tackle when he's really, at 260 pounds, he is an edge. He has the length, has the bend, still working on some pass rushing moves, still not there quite yet, but we've seen this massive upward trajectory over the course of his career. Finished with a pass rushing grade this past season of almost 90 in a row that was, not favorable to rushing the passer. So you love to see all those things. And then Van Jefferson, his father's a wide receiver coach. He has those small wide receiver sort of things that we talked about with KJ Hill. He has those down pat. I'm not sure he necessarily has the physicality of a wide receiver. I still worry about him with some more physical corners, being able to separate consistently. And you almost saw it in that LSU tape. Yes, he beats Christian Fulton and Derek Stingley a handful of times, but at other times he's just completely taken out of the play. There's that up and down sort of nature to him, so that's why he checks in at 99.
Yep, last one. Bravion Roy, defensive tier of Baylor. That's going to do it at number 100 for PFF's latest big board. Remember, this has been Austin Gayle and Mike Renner, the hosts of PFF's 2-for-1 Drafts podcast. Make sure to follow that where you get your podcast. But that's going to do it for the top 100. Thanks again. Listen in to PFF TV.
You want to get rid of me and get back to more great PFF YouTube content? All you have to do is push that button right there and subscribe. Thanks for watching.